Tyler Kasak had one of the most impressive storylines to come out of the NCAAs in 2024. Seated at number 7, he was upset in the first round by number 26, Jaden Abbas from Stanford. This can be enough to dampen anyone's spirits, but he didn't let it deter him from reaching greatness afterwards. He went on an absolute tear, winning 7 matches in a row, beating the number 1, the number 3, the number 5, the number 9 seeded wrestlers, among others, on his path to 3rd place. Normally, if you have wins over all of those seeds, you're an NCAA champ. There are many champs that never have to go through the same gauntlet because NCAAs is known as Upset City. Tyler is only the 8th wrestler in history to accomplish this feat and the first true freshman to do it. They call it the Ultimate Road Warrior, and warrior he is. Division I Nationals is not easy, though some wrestlers are so good they can make it look like it is. I used to say it's difficult to make it out of that weekend without getting hurt, let alone place. I qualified 4 times, and the best I ever did was get to the round of 12. I beat the number 5, lost to the number 3 in the quarters, then lost to the number 4 in the blood rounds. I know exactly how unforgiving that weekend can be. This story hits super close to home for me. I worked with Tyler for like 6 or 7 years, one-on-one private lessons at least once a week. I know him and his family super well. They are really good people, very down to earth. Tyler is the kind of kid, even in 6th or 7th grade, where he would walk through our waiting room to get to the locker room saying hi to parents, shaking hands, smiling, good eye contact. He was just always super respectful and mature beyond his years. A lot of kids will ignore everything in their path to get to where they want to go. They don't want to talk to parents if they don't have to, but Tyler wasn't like that. When I started working with him, he was in 4th grade. I think it was the tail end of that year. He got 3rd at states, getting pinned by Mac Church in the semis, which is a name you may be familiar with. After that, however, I had the pleasure to coach him through 4 Pennsylvania state titles before I unfortunately had to let go and see him go off to high school. I'm going to go into more detail about the wrestler-coach relationship I had with him, why I think he got so good, why he grew into an incredible wrestler throughout the years, and how he made me a better coach along the way, especially for him, at the end of the video. I got some tears in my eyes writing the script. It brings up a lot of really great memories. But by his actions that you can have kids replicate, by the way, he forced me to pay attention more and to be a better coach for him. But first, let's go through his path on his way to 3rd place. I was able to get my hands on all 8 matches so we can follow along through the entire journey. I probably won't do a video this long in the future unless it's on another one of my wrestlers, but I believe, regardless of how the video performs, it was worth it. Tyler is my first personal All-American that I coached as a youngster. Most of my other wrestlers that I spent a lot of time with are still in high school. Nathan Desmond, Colin Rath, Colin Guy, Keanu Dillard, to name a few. So he won't be the last, but I'm super proud of him. First match, as I mentioned, was against the number 26 seed, Jaden Abbas. Not long into it, Tyler gets a collar tie, pulls pressure down, then attacks the left ankle. This is a really good way of getting to a low leg shot, pulling the head down, plants that right foot in position, and gives you enough time to get to the ankle. A lot of times wrestlers will try to push the head away and do an ankle pick where the opponent is kind of tripped backwards, but Tyler likes to let go of the head and come up with the shot. This is becoming more common lately. David Taylor, Kyle Snyder, Cale Sanderson, it seems their goal is to get to the ankle and then let go of the head and finish the shot instead of trying to push the upper body away. If you hold onto the head, you are vulnerable to your opponent using that arm against you, like a slide by, where they can hook over top of the arm, pull it right, and land on top. I think this is the reason why it's becoming more popular to let go of the tie-up and finish the low shot normally. Tyler comes up with it and runs the pike. As he does that, Abbas dives the leg, presumably going for some funk or a leg pass. This position is eventually called a stalemate, which is super strange to me. If Tyler stepped over the near leg and had a crossface, it should be a takedown, at least it is in the high school rule books, but a lot of refs like to hold this for I don't know what reason. The bottom guy has zero control. They need to establish a solid rule for this because it's nothing less than infuriating for kids and coaches to deal with this position when it's up to the refs, usually subpar judgment, on who is in control of this situation, which is easily the top guy. The bottom wrestler has nothing. He's just holding on. This should be ruled a takedown, but the first period runs out without score, so it's 0-0. Tyler gets choice, chooses bottom. Again, this is to get that first point in case the match goes into double overtime where first guy who scored gets choice. Tyler starts working up to his feet, goes for a switch on the left, which Abbas doesn't have much control of the situation, so he decides to just bail away and give up the escape. This is smart on Abbas's side. If he tried to hold on any longer, he would give up an easy reversal because of this bad position he's in. Score is 1-0 Tyler. Couple seconds left in the period. Abbas has an underhook, though he really just has his arm across the back while also holding onto Tyler's left wrist. And Ty has a deep overhook. Tyler could be looking for a bundle. We used to call it an ice pick, where you pull that free arm in and grab above the elbow with your hand doing the overhook, pulling his arms together, but he isn't going for it. You can do it even if your opponent has your wrist. You just move that wrist to the right, and if he doesn't let go of it, his arm will gravitate close enough for the bundle to happen. He may just be waiting for the period to run out. I'm not too sure. It looks like he's he's relaxing too much. Abbas fires off an ankle pick on the far side and gets a piece of it. Tyler stabilizes, but Abbas pops his head out and comes up to a double. Tyler dives underneath. I assume he's going for like a Tootsie Roll, which Jason Nolf used to do a bunch, but to do that effectively, he would need to throw his left arm under as he rolls. He doesn't though. He keeps the chest with his left arm and looks like he's going to attack the near leg for some funk, but isn't able to get a piece of it. I've seen Braden Davis do the same exact motion to not much success, so I'm not sure if this is something specific they're working on in the room that just isn't translating, or if it's a coincidence and he wasn't able to get a piece of the leg for funk. Regardless, a quick crossface will stop this, which Abbas does, and so he gets the takedown. It's now 3-1 Abbas. Abbas takes down in the third. Tyler has to decide if it's worth it to try to turn Abbas or let him go and get a takedown. The usual advice is to cut him and try to get a takedown. If that happened, it would be 4-4, and you could use riding time to win the match or go into overtime if you don't have enough for it. It's pretty easy for a good wrestler to stall on bottom and not get turned in the third, though. I've seen neutral work so much more often in this regard, so I'd lean on just settling it there. Tyler does eventually push him away, though he waits for 30 seconds before that. I would say to do it at the start of the period so you have a lot more time to work with. Score is 4-1 Abbas. The period runs out without score, except for the 2 stalling calls that Abbas gets, making the final score 4-2. Tyler did have a chance at the edge here. He did a really cool setup out of the collar tie, holds on to the head, does a simple elbow pop on the left to get to the shot, but Abbas plays the edge and Tyler isn't able to get much. Tyler should be trying to pull him back to the middle of the mat with that foot, but Abbas is ready to pick at an ankle like Hidlay did to Brooks in the final, so he didn't tempt fate on that too much. I want behavior like this to at least be a stall call, if not a fleeing the mat call as well. Backing away and running for a solid minute and 20 seconds should not be rewarded. It's bad for the sport, and at the very least it's dishonorable. Regardless, Tyler loses the match, knocking him into the wrestlebacks at the very start of the consolation bracket, so he has a long way to go. Match number 2 is against Drew Roberts of Minnesota, the 23 seed. Some time passes in the first. Roberts goes for a weird single from across the body, which I don't recommend, because all Tyler has to do is catch the arm and kind of just push Roberts to his back with an over-under. Roberts kind of just put himself in this position. There's not much else to talk about here. Tyler puts Roberts on his back for the takedown, 3-0, and is able to get some backs for his effort, 6-0 Tyler. Tyler digs a left ankle up with his feet. You can use your legs to dig your own legs in when your opponent is flat like this and your arms are doing other things, but Ty reaches back for that ankle because Roberts is being kind of lax with it. This is actually funny. We started teaching this back in the day when we saw Rutherford use it at the NCAAs, and a referee promptly told us it was illegal any earlier than college. We didn't know. We just saw it as a move that paired really well with our leg riding and looked super effective because Rutherford got it a lot. Tyler was the first one to try it in a match. He did it like the following weekend at States, if I remember correctly, and a ref kind of laughed, gave the penalty point, and then explained to me and said how they've been seeing it a lot recently. It didn't affect his match. He won anyways, but we learned that we can't do that before college. I bet Tyler is super happy that he's in college and can finally use it because it works extremely well. You get a good wrap around the foot, grab the heel with your palm, lift the leg up and forward, cross-face with your free arm, and then tilt them to their back. Tyler's able to get 4 points out of this, bringing the score to 10-0 to close out the period. Second period, Roberts takes bottom. Nothing too exciting happens until the 22nd mark, where Roberts posts the hand down and does a weak changeover to get his escape. Honestly, not much Ty could have done to stop that from happening. Roberts had some good hand control on his way up, and then the changeover clears his hips. Changeovers like this work so well. Score is 10-1 to close out the period. Tyler takes bottom. Roberts throws legs in, but doesn't look like he's able to get much control at all. Tyler is no stranger to leg riding. We were known for it. The right leg goes in super far, so he takes the left leg out and elevates it, keeps it lifted and controlled, which forces Roberts to fall off the front and bail. Tyler immediately reattacks, not looking to allow separation to happen, attacks the hip, and gets his reversal. In most matches, I'm in favor of letting go of the leg, getting your escape, which stops riding time and ensures you get a point, but the score is out of hand, so it doesn't really matter. Scrambling while you're still on the bottom is bad for a number of reasons. Riding time, stalemates, going out of bounds, running out of time. All of that can be alleviated if you prioritize the escape. Score is 12-1 Tyler. Ty cuts him, 12-2. 30 seconds left. Roberts does a lefty high crotch, which turns into a single. Tyler kind of just bails and gives up the takedown. I don't recommend you do this kind of thing, but I can understand why he did it. He's up by so many points that a takedown doesn't matter. Gets the escape, wins 13-5, but still, try not to make a habit of giving up points unnecessarily. Match number 3 against Ethan Fernandez of Cornell, the 9th seed, though this match ends up being fairly quick. Beginning of the match, Ethan steps hard with his left foot, and so Tyler drops on it for an easy righty single. Fernandez goes shin whizzer and tries to Jonesy immediately, even starts kicking the leg over the body like he should, but his ankle is on the outside of Tyler's hips, so he doesn't have any leverage against the shoulder. We used to teach the Jonesy, and the easiest counter for this is to push the ankle on the outside of your hip so they can't get any leverage, and that's what Tyler does here. He kind of just lets that happen. As Fernandez kicks over, Ty lets the ankle slip, which negates creates that leverage and makes it go nowhere. Fernandez keeps the leg. This is the same situation that Tyler was stuck in with Abbas. Fernandez could look for a Peterson if he grabbed Tyler's right wrist with his free arm, but he doesn't go for it. He doubles down on the leg, puts pressure in, then finds himself trying to funk. We also went over funk pretty extensively, as well as counters to it, which you'll see Tyler do here. He holds on to that left leg of Fernandez, which controls the hips and keeps him on his back. Tyler then grabs a Navy ride, which is what you really want because it stops them from rolling away from you, which makes the funk possible, and forces them to roll back into you. Tyler's body is between the legs, which makes the situation even more awkward and dangerous for Fernandez. Tyler just kind of holds position, finds his way to an armbar, circles to the head, pulls the head down, and that's all she wrote. Match number 4 against Graham Rooks of Indiana, seeded number 17. 5 seconds in, Tyler has the right wrist controlled with his left, and so Rooks goes for a righty single, which is usually a good idea. You can use that wrist they have control of to pull their arm and slingshot you into a shot. Tyler, however, reacts well, lets go of the wrist, which people don't tend to do when it gets pulled, uses that arm to down block, then feeds that right arm into an arm drag. Rooks reacts well, gets back to his feet, so Ty uses what is now like a Russian tie-up, goes for an inside trip on the right side. Notice how he drops to his knee, which ensures that you can hook the leg with your leg. He tries to catch a double, but settles for a single. Rooks goes for a shin whizzer, but Tyler wisely keeps his shoulder low, which makes it tough to get that. Converts to an underhook on the right and tries to start pulling Rooks back in bounds. The underhook with the single is a little sketchy, almost makes you want to try to pull that underhook backwards, but it's not so easy to do that. Rooks notices the ankles get close, so he goes ankle pick, which is a really good idea. We've seen that before. It almost gets him out of the situation, but Tyler reattacks that single, comes up with it, immediately does a back trip, which is really good. You want to try to back trip before they get a solid footing. The earlier the better. Makes it easier to get. Gets a piece of that far hip, slips his head under, gets a takedown, 3-0 Tyler. Tyler rides him out for the rest of the period, mostly with a one-on-one wrist ride. This one-on-one was taught to us by Santoro from Lehigh. I had him teach a series one time at a summer camp of ours, and the kids used it ever since. They got really good with it. Tyler would crush kids with a one-on-one paired with a far claw ride. Worked really well for him. Second period, Tyler chooses neutral. Not sure what the problem is with him going down here. Must just not want to play around that position if he doesn't have to based on previous experience with Rooks. Tyler does that same ankle pick shot we saw before, pulls the head down, which plants the foot, attacks the left ankle, converts it to a single. Rooks dives under for some funk. When someone dives under like this for funk, it's best to drop to your knee and catch a crossface, but it's not always easy to do this when you're in the process of lifting the leg. So it really is the perfect time for Rooks to dive for it. Notice Tyler keep control of that top leg, pull the top shoulder with his left hand, and feed his right arm between the legs for a Navy ride. This again is how we defend funk. Look for a Navy or low leg cradle grip of that leg, which allows you to control the hips and keep your opponent on his back. Tyler gets the 3 danger swipes and is awarded the takedown. Score is 6-0 Tyler. Period runs out. Third period, Rooks chooses neutral. Minute 13 left in the match. Rooks goes for a low leg single. Tyler sprawls, catches the arm drag on the right, goes to a single. This is a really nice reattack that a lot of college wrestlers are doing now, probably because it is so very effective. You see Nick Lee do it constantly. Tyler gets the single, gets a piece of the far hip and pulls it backwards, which forces Rooks to his hip and gives him another takedown. Usually reaching across the far hip is not a great idea, gives your opponent an easy whizzer and a way to slam your head on the mat and make the finish super difficult, but my guess is Rooks is about out of juice for that. 9-0 Tyler. Rooks does get an escape, 9-1, 13 seconds left, goes for a double from space, which Tyler down blocks, circles, almost throws Rooks to his back, then casually circles around for a takedown, bringing the score to 12-1, 13-1 with riding time. Match number 5, number 3 seed Jackson Arrington from NC State, the blood round. This is the make or break it round. If Tyler wins, he's an All-American and will place. If not, he gets nothing. 10 seconds in, Arrington has an underhook on the right, elevates it for a pretty nice lefty high crotch. He starts to go out the back door, lifts, so Tyler goes crotch lock, but then lets go of it. I recommend you lock hands around the body and look to trap an arm. This gives you a lot of control over the situation, allows you to look for a Winn-Dixie or just an easy go behind on the trapped arm side. Not having anything controlled here is not a great idea. At the very least, grabbing both ankles will allow you to funk if the situation falls on its side. Arrington isolates the leg, pulls it down to go Turk. He would hook that bottom leg, get his hip down and head up, push the top leg forward to pop the head out, swim his arm out, look for a crossface, but isn't able to get a good Turk. He lifts Tyler back into an out the back door position, which again Ty isn't able to trap both arms, so he's stuck on an ankle and a chest wrap. He lets go of both. I assume he's trying to bear crawl forward and escape the situation, like kick out, which can work, but you run the risk of your opponent getting a piece of the leg or two and giving up an easy takedown. Arrington notices the lack of control from Tyler, grabs both legs, turns, and has his takedown. Scores 3-0 Arrington. Tyler's able to get an escape, makes his way to his feet. Arrington starts to pull him back down. Tyler hits a switch on the way down, and so Arrington is forced to let go and give up the escape. 3-1 Arrington. Period runs out without score. Arrington gets choice, chooses bottom, makes his way up to his feet. Ty tries to lift with a claw and the leg, which is a really great way to lift someone up and bring them back down. But Arrington does a good job of finding his footing, so he's able to pop back up. A little bit more hip pressure may make the legs fly up more and allow the mat return to happen a lot easier. Arrington looks for a Peterson from his feet, which is difficult to get for sure, but enough to make Ty push him away. 4-1 Arrington. 30 seconds left in the period. Arrington goes for a righty high crotch from space. Not much of a setup, so Ty is able to sprawl away easily enough, arm drag, and circle around for the easy takedown. Same re-attack we've seen him do many times, and no, when you put yourself in that kind of a position offensively, there's not much you can do about it aside from trying to circle quick back to your feet and or face and redrag or something. Score is 4-4. Third period, Tyler takes bottom. At about the 142 mark, Arrington elects to cut Tyler and give him an escape. He was riding him before this and gave up a stall call, so I guess he figures he'd settle it on his feet. Score is 5-4 Tyler. Arrington isn't able to get anything going for the rest of the period, so Ty wins 5-4, making him an All-American. Match number 6, Quinn Kinner from Ryder. If Tyler wins, he'll go into Conci semis. If not, he'll be going for 7th or 8th. Still an All-American, so still a huge accomplishment, but you know Tyler wants more than that. First period, 40 seconds in, Kinner goes for a double off the whistle. Tyler reacts well, circles for that arm drag re-attack again, but Kinner reaches up and is low, prompting Tyler to do a headlock. Now, this works, so I can't knock him for it too much. I'm more proud of him for not over-committing to the headlock, posting his left arm pretty much as soon as they land to stabilize his position, because we all know how to defend a headlock by rolling through. So if you post right away, it kind of negates that roll through. Tyler gets a low leg controlled with a crossface, starts looking for backs. This eventually turns into a Turk, but you're only able to get a maximum of 4 points here. So 3 for the takedown, 4 for backs, 7-0 Tyler, and the score will stay that way for the rest of the period. Second period, Tyler chooses down. Kinner is actually doing a decent job riding legs, though this right here is for sure a figure 4, which is illegal. Tyler picks at the ankles like he did before, keeps one elevated. Kinner gets too high and so gives up the reversal. Kinner just didn't do a good enough job breaking Tyler down. Not enough hip pressure, kicking his feet back, breaking the arms down. As long as Tyler is able to stay on his base here and attack the legs, he'll be fine. Score is 9-0 Tyler. At the 52nd mark, Tyler decides to cut him. 9-1 tie. Period runs out without anything crazy happening. Third period, Kinner takes bottom. Tyler rides him out for almost a minute, then lets him go. 9-2 Tyler. Nothing crazy happens for the rest of the match. Tyler wins 10-2 with the riding time point. Match number 7 against number 1 seed Ridge Lovett. This is Conci semis, so if Tyler loses this, he goes for 5th or 6th. If he wins, he goes for 3rd or 4th. He has lost to Lovett twice this year, but Lovett doesn't have too much of an offense, so it's just a matter of figuring out his defense, and you're good to go. 15 seconds in, Ty goes for that low ankle on the left, gets a nice piece of it, pulls it in. Notice this time how he pulls the ankle to his chest and puts pressure on the knee, which throws Lovett backwards and down to the mat. This is similar to when you have a low leg on the mat and you put your head in the knee, tripod, and circle to the double. This bending of the leg is so difficult to deal with. Easy takedown. 3-0 Tyler. Lovett would have needed to turn more, commit to a shin whizzer, or try to dive over the head and force out the backdoor position, though I'm not sure he would have been able to due to how Ty was controlling that ankle and leg. Lovett does a forward roll, comes up with the leg, stays in bounds, almost gets a reversal, but Ty does a good enough job defending and playing the edge, not giving up anything. So the action goes out of bounds and is ruled an escape for a general loss of control. A minute to go, Lovett has an underhook on the right. Tyler gets that bundle I was talking about before, feeds that left arm into the right hand, pulls them together. This allows him to easily attack that far leg, lift it up, back trip, and get his takedown. 6-1 Tyler. That bundle is so strong, it opens up so much if you're able to pull those arms together like that. Tyler rides Lovett out for the rest of the period, giving him a lot of riding time. Lovett gets choice, defers, Tyler picks neutral, clearly feeling neutral against him this time. Minute left in the period, Tyler has a Russian tie on the left side, goes to do a shuck. That's where you push the wrist down and forward. You try to get your opponent's hands to hit the mat, then you start circling around, but he quickly switches to a near side single. Tyler again pulls that ankle up to his chest while pushing the knee down, puts his head into the leg, slightly above the knee, and then circles to the double. This finish is damn near impossible to scramble out of, and gives Tyler another easy takedown. Score is now 9-1 tie. Tyler rides him out for the rest of the period. Lovett gets choice, chooses neutral, but isn't able to get anything going, so Tyler wins 10-1 with riding time. Lovett was ranked number 1 in the country for most of the season, so it's pretty cool to get this win. Match number 8, Tyler's final match. This is for 3rd or 4th against a familiar opponent, Ty Waters. I know Waters and his dad, they're really good people. I coached Kasak against Waters back when Tyler was in 8th grade. I'm pretty sure it was the state semifinals. These two are very well aware of each other, and Waters had a really good college freshman year as well, so there's no telling how this match would play out. I imagine it's been a long time since the two wrestled because I believe Waters was at a higher weight class in high school. They're both PA boys. 15 seconds in, Waters takes a random shot from space. Tyler stops the shot, gets that arm drag again to a near single, goes for a back trip, then pulls the knee out and putting pressure with his chest again to pop Waters to his butt. Gets a piece of the hip, pulls the legs together, and gets his takedown. You would think it wouldn't be a good thing to highlight that a lot of Tyler's takedowns are coming from one type of reshot, but it's not something you can directly counter outside of setting up your shots better, which happens before before the fact. A lot of wrestlers fall prey to the idea that they can shoot whenever and everything will be fine if they are talented and athletic. But if you don't set up your shots, this can always happen, especially against top-tier opponents. Tyler just so happens to be getting super good at this, I guess, as is the rest of the Penn State room at the very least, so I don't have much advice against it, even if I wasn't biased and wanted to give you some, other than make sure you hand fight well and set up your shots. Score is 3-0 Tyler. 45 seconds in, Waters makes his way to his feet, gets a whizzer, separates his hips, and gets the escape. 3-1 Kasak. Period closes out without too much happening. Waters gets choice, chooses bottom. 15 seconds in, peels the hands, gets his escape. 3-2 Kasak. Period closes out without score. Tyler gets choice, chooses neutral. Though some scrambles did take place, Tyler was able to out-wrestle them and end the period scoreless, giving him the 3-2 victory and the third place. Tyler almost got a takedown at the 1 minute mark, underhook to a lefty high crotch, but Waters defends it really well with the shin whizzer. Every time Waters would prep for a Jonesy, you see Tyler defend it fairly easily by pushing the ankle to the outside, though this one scared me a little. Waters correctly tries to pull this position backwards, but just doesn't have the grip necessary with his hands to keep everything together to get what I call a cutback at this point. Waters for sure knows his way around this Jonesy and shin whizzer, but so does Tyler. He's known that situation inside and out since like 4th grade. And so Tyler Kasak completes the ultimate road warrior, losing first match and making his way all the way back to 3rd. Such an incredible test of willpower and self-discipline, where most wrestlers in the back of their minds are looking for the season to be over. They're looking for a reason to quit. Tyler was looking for more. The Wrestlebacks are interesting. Sometimes you just have to give your opponent a little bit of doubt, and Tyler proceeded to do this every single match. Congrats, Tyler. I'm proud of you. But next year, I think you understand your task. So back to the personal story. How do I think Tyler got so good? How can you try to replicate that? Well, first, he was naturally very strong. Let's just get that out of the way. It helps for sure, but it certainly isn't everything. I remember the first tournament I coached him at. He did a normal chop to an armbar on top every match. He may have pinned every kid there. He at least didn't have any hard matches. I don't think there was anyone at his level. Normally, you would congratulate him, say good job, tell the parents they have an amazing wrestler on their hands, and that's the end of it. Instead, I tried to find things he needed to work on before those pins happened, which I made sure to mention to him and his dad. I understood pretty much immediately, based on the way he wrestled and how strong he was, that he had a lot of potential. I remember he also took my advice and tried it right away. He was intelligent, able to pick things up quickly and use them soon after. He was very respectful and a very good listener. I'll talk a little bit about my philosophy as a coach, and then I'll get back to Tyler. I get a lot of flack for this in the YouTube comments from people who don't try to understand where I'm coming from, but I don't think the final outcome of a match matters all that much. Don't get me wrong, I love wins. I want our kids to win every time they step on the mat, but I've been through it. I was a sensitive kid with a tough father who was probably a lot easier on me than I remember. The losses I suffered hit my dad pretty hard, and so the feeling got cast onto me as well. So the wins that happened always came with a side of, if I lost, you wouldn't be happy, so what's the point of being happy now? So I feel the kids' losses probably more than they do. In order to protect them from that, and probably myself, I started concentrating on everything that happens before the final result that everyone gets so upset about, so we can make sure that failure doesn't happen as often. If the only thing you're worried about is scoring more points, then it doesn't matter if you're winning or losing, or if there's only 30 seconds left in the period, or if the ref is being hard on you, or if it's NCAA finals. You're just focused on getting more points. It's simple. You don't feel the stress as much, you make better decisions, and therefore you win a hell of a lot more often. Momentum never sways back in the other direction because you thought it was a good idea to change your style completely, which was working all match, and start stalling for 2 minutes hoping for victory. If you go through that process over the course of 10 years, you get a lot better, a lot more consistently. Also, it makes wrestling matches a lot more fun to watch. If all you're worried about are wins, so you use your mad IQ to stall for the last 2 minutes of every single match, you lose 2 minutes of every single match where you could have gotten better. Extrapolate that down the line 10 years into the future, say you have 100 matches a year, which is honestly low for serious youth wrestlers. You lose 200 minutes of mat time every single year. 2,000 minutes of mat time over the course of 10. How much better could you have gotten if you had 2,000 more minutes of legitimate mat time to work with? I try to push this idea into my wrestlers as much as possible. They all want to win, they all use certain tactics to avoid loss. So it never really sticks 100%, but the more it sticks, the better. So you can say I have no mat IQ and call me naive, but this idea gets wrestlers better extremely well and extremely quickly without all the stress and worrying about, oh, I could have won this and I can't believe I lost that. Read my YouTube bio, I've been able to create some amazing wrestlers who are about to hop on the college scene. Tyler is the first of many. As a coach, I'm much more worried about everything that happens before the final result. What could you have done to make that pin happen easier or earlier? How could you have gotten that takedown easier or earlier? How could you have composed yourself better throughout the match? How could you make sure you're always looking for more points? These are details that many coaches miss because they are not paying attention and they're so excited about the pin they just got, they forget to try to find advice for the kid. Or maybe they just don't have the experience necessary to understand every tiny little detail that could be improved. It's just good job. But if you're a good enough coach, you can find those little mistakes. And Tyler made sure that I found them and told him what they were. So So you see, this idea that I formulated over years of working with these kids pretty much started with Tyler. He wanted to know how he could improve every single time he stepped out on the mat. So how did he do this? At the end of every single match Tyler wrestled, whether he won by pin in 30 seconds or the match was close, he made sure to come up to me and ask me what he could do better every single time. Because he did that so consistently, he forced me to always have an answer for him. He forced me to pay attention from the start of his every single match, and I've coached him through hundreds of matches. He's a great kid. I didn't want to let him down. I always wanted to be realistic with him and keep him on an even keel. I didn't want him to get so excited about winning or so down about losses that he wouldn't come to me for advice. You see plenty of kids run off the mat after a loss. They don't want to talk to anyone, which I totally understand. Parents can be hard on kids, coaches can be too. It's not easy to keep yourself composed when you think you just let everyone down. But as a wrestler, if you force yourself to keep yourself composed enough to ask for advice from your coach every single match, you force them to always have an answer for you. And if the coach can't find an answer for you consistently, you need to find a coach who can. Tyler always did that every single time. He didn't miss a beat or have an emotional loss that he couldn't stomach, so he ran off. The first time Tyler won states, I don't know if he remembers, but I said in a very matter-of-fact way, like, good job, I'm proud of you. Same thing next year. Look, you're free to celebrate wins, but I want kids to look forward. And Tyler would look at me seriously, nod his head, and then smile and go off and be a kid. I think that attitude he had with me, the wrestler-coach relationship we had, let me mold him into a better and better wrestler over time. And it also molded me into a better coach. I used to teach 250 plus moves on a rotating basis like a lesson plan at Red Hawk. I have 200 of them uploaded to this YouTube channel that you can view if you become a member. But he, like many others, learned every single one of them inside and out. I always had to have an answer for his every little question, and you're damn sure if I didn't know the answer, I did some research to find it. This added more moves to the lesson plan and ultimately turned me into a better coach, which in turn made him a better wrestler. So yeah, Tyler is a special kid, but it's not his natural athletic ability or strength that makes him that way. It's his ability to learn, adapt, and his general outlook on life. I don't know if these things are things that can be taught. If so, his parents deserve all the credit for how they raised him, but it's what's going on inside of his brain that makes him the person he is, and the wrestler he is. This is something that's going to follow him with whatever else he decides to do in life. We're talking about a kid that pinned his way through Eastern Nationals in 6th grade and then proceeded to catch a fish out of the nearby creek with materials he found on the beach. That really happened. He ran up to me with a live fish with the biggest smile ever. I remember that one pretty vividly. One of the many memories I have with him and the rest of that crew that they may not remember that well because, well, it was a long time ago and they were just kids, but I'll remember for the rest of my life. I know Tyler's going to do great things, whether he stays with wrestling forever or goes off and does something else eventually. It doesn't really matter. He'll find a way to excel because that's just what he does. That's his mentality. That's just who he is.